7 signs of an incompatible relationship. At first, it feels like love. Or at least, that's what you tell yourself. You laugh together. You stay up late talking. You share memories no one else understands. There's history there. Comfort. Familiarity. Maybe even chemistry, that magnetic pull that makes everything feel intense. From the outside, it looks right. So when something feels off, you don't panic. You rationalize. Because nothing is obviously wrong. They're not toxic. They're not abusive. They're not a villain in your story. And that's what makes incompatibility so confusing. It doesn't explode. It erodes. Slowly. Quietly. Like two puzzle pieces that almost fit, close enough to stay together, but never close enough to fully lock in. And over time, that tiny gap starts to matter. So here are 7 signs you're not in a bad relationship. You're in an incompatible one. 1. You have the same fight on repeat. Not similar fights. The same fight. Just with different wording. You argue. You resolve it. Things calm down. And then 2 weeks later, it's back. Because the issue isn't the surface disagreement. It's a difference in needs, communication styles, or emotional wiring. And no matter how many times you talk about it, the core misalignment doesn't change. That's not a communication problem. That's a compatibility problem. 2. Your future visions don't overlap. One of you wants growth, risk, change. The other wants comfort, routine, stability. One wants to move cities. The other wants to stay close to family. One values ambition above all. The other values balance and simplicity. Neither of you is wrong. But direction matters. And love cannot compensate for moving in opposite directions forever. Eventually, someone sacrifices their vision. And sacrifice, when it's constant, becomes resentment. 3. You feel drained after explaining yourself. You try to explain why something hurt you. You try to explain what you need. And somehow, you leave the conversation more exhausted than when you started. Not because they're cruel. But because they don't process the world the way you do. You speak in emotional language. They respond in logic. You crave reassurance. They crave independence. And every conversation feels like translation work. Over time, you stop explaining. Not because you don't care. But because you're tired. 4. Your core values clash. Values are deeper than hobbies. It's not about liking different music. It's about how you handle money. How you define loyalty. How you see family. How you approach growth. When values clash, it creates friction in everyday decisions. And small daily friction slowly builds into emotional distance. You can compromise on preferences. You can't compromise on identity. 5. You shrink yourself to keep the peace. This one is subtle. You don't even notice it at first. You talk less about your dreams because they dismiss them. You tone down your personality because it's too much. You avoid topics that lead to tension. You adjust. And adjust. And adjust. Until one day you realize you feel smaller in this relationship than you do anywhere else. Love should expand you. Not reduce you. 6. The effort feels one-sided. You're always the one initiating hard conversations. You're always the one trying to fix things. You're always the one researching how to make it work. Meanwhile, they're comfortable. Not malicious. Just comfortable. An effort that's unbalanced doesn't just create imbalance. It creates emotional loneliness. Because you start feeling like you're carrying something that's supposed to be shared. 7. You feel lonely. Even when you're together. This is the loudest whisper. You're sitting next to them. But you don't feel met. You don't feel understood. You don't feel deeply seen. And loneliness inside a relationship hits differently. Because you can't blame distance. You can't blame timing. They're right there. And somehow, you still feel alone. Here's the truth most people avoid. You can love someone deeply. And still not be compatible. Compatibility isn't about chemistry. Chemistry creates sparks. Compatibility creates stability. Chemistry pulls you together. Compatibility moves you forward. And when alignment is missing, love starts to feel heavy. Like work. Like constant negotiation. Like convincing yourself that this is normal. But relationships shouldn't feel like ongoing persuasion. They should feel like momentum. Two people moving in the same direction. Not pulling each other sideways. Incompatibility doesn't mean someone failed. It doesn't mean someone is bad. It just means your wiring, your vision, and your values don't align the way they need to. And sometimes the hardest truth is this. The relationship isn't wrong because it's toxic. It's wrong because it's not right. And there's a difference. If this felt personal, it probably is. And that awareness? That's the first step toward choosing peace over potential.